Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the verified facts and the deep, enduring shadows surrounding one of America's absolute most chilling CIA mysteries. We're going to trace the timeline, the forensic evidence, and the massive historical debate of a case that has fascinated researchers for over 70 years. We are going to unpack exactly what happened to Frank Olson and, honestly, why this story still matters so much today.
Okay, let's jump right in by starting exactly when the mystery begins. Picture this. It's November 28th, 1953, 2:30 in the morning. It's the dead of night in New York City, and the streets are mostly quiet. Just your typical, chilly, late autumn evening. But up in a room at the Statler Hotel in Manhattan, an event is about to occur that's going to trigger a chain reaction lasting for decades.
Out of nowhere, the sheer silence of the night is violently shattered. A man suddenly crashes through a closed 10th-floor hotel window. He plummets to the street below, dying instantly. His name was Frank Olson. Now, in the chaotic immediate aftermath, authorities rushed in, looked at the shattered glass and the grim scene, and officially ruled this a tragic, straightforward suicide. To the police on the ground, the case seemed completely closed. But as we're about to see, that initial ruling would eventually spark a 70-year historical debate that remains totally unresolved.
So let's get into part one, the 10th floor fall. To really understand why this specific death caused such a massive controversy, we have to look at the victim himself. Frank Olson wasn't just some ordinary citizen passing through Manhattan. He was a highly specialized scientist working directly for the United States government. Specifically, his research involved biological warfare programs, and he was stationed at Fort Detrick in Maryland. This detail is absolutely crucial because it highlights the era. Olson worked amid intense Cold War secrecy. At this time, America and the Soviet Union were locked in this fierce, hidden struggle for military advantage. Biological warfare was a terrifying new frontier, and government projects like the ones Olson worked on operated strictly behind closed doors. Very few people truly knew what was happening in those high-security labs.
Which brings us to our second section, the secret LSD experiment.
Here is the insane twist that changes everything. Just days before his death, in November 1953, Olson intended a retreat with CIA personnel and fellow government researchers. It looked like a standard gathering of colleagues. But, completely unknown to him, CIA officials secretly slipped LSD, which is a highly unpredictable, powerful mind-altering drug, into his post-dinner drink, reportedly a glass of Cointreau. He didn't volunteer for a clinical trial. He had zero idea what he was consuming. See, during this highly paranoid era, the CIA was actively testing whether synthetic substances could be used as weapons for interrogations or mind control. So Frank Olson, a top-tier government scientist, was unknowingly made a non-consenting test subject by his own colleagues.
Look at this timeline, because it really illustrates how fast this escalated. The fallout from that secret dose was a terrifying psychological decline over just a matter of days. After taking that spiked drink in early November, his friends and colleagues noticed drastic changes. By mid-November, he's exhibiting profound anxiety, deep paranoia, and severe confusion. He even wanted to resign from his job. It got so bad that concerned CIA officials, again, the very people who dosed him, arranged special meetings with psychiatric doctors in late November. He was taken to New York City under the pretense of getting help. And then tragically, on November 28th, we hit the fatal incident at the Statler Hotel, where he had been sharing a room with a CIA-associated colleague before going through that window.
Moving on to Section 3, Decades of Deception.
For over 20 years, the official story of a sudden, unexplainable suicide held firm. His family grieved, having no idea about the true context of his final days. But then, the mid-1970s hit, and the political landscape completely shifted. Sweeping government investigations into classified CIA activities started unearthing these heavily guarded documents. Through these leaks, the public, and most importantly, Frank Olson's widow and children, finally learned the shocking truth about the secret LSD dosing. It was an absolute bombshell. The outrage was so intense that it culminated in this surreal moment where the President of the United States actually invited the Olson family to the White House, acknowledged the government's involvement, and issued a formal apology. The original narrative was officially shattered.
These massive revelations naturally led historians, journalists, and a very skeptical public to ask a pretty obvious question. If this was simply a tragic suicide, why had key facts been so meticulously covered up? Why go to such incredible lengths to hide the reality of his final days?
And really, why keep the details about the experiment itself totally hidden from local police and his own family for decades? What exactly was the intelligence community trying to protect by hiding evidence that seemed wildly inconsistent with a simple suicide? The extreme secrecy suddenly felt like the biggest red flag of the whole case.
That leads us right into Section 4, murder or suicide.
As the family pushed for real answers, a massive conflict emerged between the initial findings and modern science. The original 1953 ruling stated cleanly that Olson willingly took his own life by diving through that closed window. But fast forward to 1994, his body was exhumed for a second autopsy, and forensic experts found evidence suggesting a totally different story. Some investigators claim the physical injuries showed Olson may have actually suffered severe head trauma and been unconscious before he ever went through the glass. Now, to be perfectly objective here, other experts fiercely disputed those 1994 conclusions, maintaining the injuries were just from the fall itself. So no universally accepted answer emerged, but this forensic debate added incredible fuel to the fire, turning what was a closed case into a highly active mystery.
So, without taking sides, we really have to look at the three primary theories that researchers are still debating today, keeping in mind none of these have been conclusively proven in court. First up is the psychological break theory. This suggests that Olson was simply overwhelmed by the lingering, severe effects of the secret LSD dose, which triggered a psychotic break that led directly to suicide. The second theory is the silent security risk. This posits that because he possessed top-secret intelligence about biological warfare, his unstable mental state and desire to quit made him a profound national security risk, one that rogue agents felt they had to neutralize. And the third is outright murder. The belief here is that he was intentionally killed, maybe pushed or thrown while unconscious, specifically to stop him from blowing the whistle on the controversial biowarfare programs he'd seen at Fort Detrick.
And finally, Section 5. The enduring mystery.
When we strip away the rumors and strictly look at the facts versus the speculation, a chilling picture emerges. Historians universally agree on the knowns. Frank Olson was secretly dosed with LSD by the CIA without his consent. He did die days later at the Statler Hotel, and that crucial context was actively concealed from his family for decades. But the unanswered questions are what keep this case alive. What actually happened in that Manhattan hotel room that night between Olson and his colleague? Was the fall an intentional act of a broken mind, or was he forced out? And what was the true, core motive behind a cover-up of that magnitude?
The Frank Olson case isn't just about one deeply tragic death. It is a stark historical reminder of unchecked government power, the sheer paranoia of the Cold War, and the human cost of absolute secrecy. It reminds us that despite decades of investigations and unearthed documents, history doesn't always wrap up neatly with a bow. Sometimes it just leaves us with profound, unsettling mysteries.
Which leaves us with one pretty terrifying thought to wrap up this explainer. If a story this wild was successfully hidden for decades, what other Cold War secrets are still completely locked away behind closed doors? It challenges us to look critically at official narratives, ensuring Frank Olson's story will forever remain one of America's most haunting, unresolved mysteries. Thanks for joining me on this one.